it's easy to do with you.
Yeah,
I saw you were, and you get back to the community. I saw that you like teach kids music and shit, and like
a little bit.
Yeah, geez, you do it all.
Like, well,
I wish I was that good.
You could go be a comedian counselor, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Comedy counseling, man.
Yeah.
That would be a good one, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't take your problems so seriously.
The problem,
you know?
for sure. But the problem is with comedy counseling is I feel like you'd have a bad, like, because a lot of the comedy counseling would be like ripping on people. Because that's the idea behind it is that, oh, you're fat, just have your buddies call you fat then, and it'll stop affecting you so much. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like the word is escaping me right now. What's it called when you like when two guys like make fun of each other? It's a roast.
Okay.
Like roasting is a big part of it. You know?
It can be.
And I'm not sure if that's entirely positive for all people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, see, that's the thing, eh? Like, so then you could say a skilled comedian would be able to walk someone into smiling. Like, in a certain sense, the roast is sort of like an extreme example of being able to smile at or with yourself,
Exactly.
not taking yourself too seriously.
Exactly.
Like, that's the essence of a lot of that stuff, right? But
which is a good lesson.
there can, but it can go too far too. Like, you know, you can you're gonna like you can be hurting yourself, and is that still funny? I don't know. Like, I mean, it could be, right?
Some
like you got the
yes.
excess. Like, there's those Jackass shows or whatever.
For sure.
That's
Physical hurting. I mean, let me tell you this. Just an interesting anecdote with that too. And you remember where you're headed. I mean, the most famous comedian that I have interviewed, his handle is Sad Man Rick. Like, and all he does is self-deprecation jokes.
Right.
So like, I mean, is it good? It's
have you ever heard of? I think that he calls himself Swami Beyondananda. Oh, you gotta check him out, man. He's a comedian.
Is he? Is
he
young?
I found a comedian you don't know. That's great.
You got one there.
He's, I don't know, he's probably like 50-ish or 60
Oh,
or
God, I
something.
should know him then.
Is
he the guy who's been doing those Israel interviews?
I don't know. I noticed him through an organization called
is he brown?
Sand.
Is he really handsome?
So. I don't think no. He's kind of slender. He's a little bit like nerdy looking.
Oh,
he's just like kind of like a middle-aged to elderish sort of Caucasian guy.
Okay.
And
you found one.
So SAND, SAND. It's called the Science and Non-Duality Conferences, right? They kind of produce shows and.
What's non-duality?
That's the essence of comedy.
Okay. The essence counter's at 3. The essence counter's at 3 here. See how many times you say essence in the podcast.
Oh, count. Okay. Yeah. No, I do like that word.
Okay.
Man.
Okay.
So non-duality is the essence of philosophy. It's the essence of a paradox. Right?
Of like there not being one way or the other, like the duality.
How can the
binary
coexistence of seemingly opposite things be in the same place? And, you know, so
what's an example?
An example would be, you could take a big, like, say, does God exist? Does God not exist? What if there's parallel universes where those are both true, right?
Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
That's one quick example, right? Like,
okay. And by that logic, anything is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the science and non-duality conference people had this guy on one of their shows, just kind of in there with a few little. Like, have you ever heard of a crown chakra? You know, so in the yoga systems they teach about chakras, which are energy centers. They say we have 7.
For sure. Dude. So I never used to be into that stuff, but like when I started doing yoga, and they do that one thing, you know, where you're in savasana and they start telling you to feel each section of your body and do something with it, where they're like breathe into it and relax it. I was like, there might be something to this.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue. Like it's real.
It's very interesting. It's one of the oldest forms of one of the oldest forms of medicine and healthcare is Ayurveda, which is I think 2,600 years old, and that it's the chakra system and the yoga philosophies and stuff like that. It's all woven in. Anyway, so they have energy centers. There's 7 of them, and they start at the root and then there's a sacral chakra, and then a will, like kind of an ego chakra, then the heart one, then the voice, then a third eye, which is the vision of seeing the dual world with a non-dual vision. Sorry, I bumped that. And then the crown is, they say, it's your connection to the beyondness and the Godhead, right? But this guy, he calls the crown chakra the clown chakra.
Oh yeah.
Right? And then
yeah.
And then so then another idea is like, if all of your you could say your centers are awake together, you can have what they call a full realization, right?
Okay.
So you become a fully realized being. That's the goal of some of these like meditation and yoga practices, right?
Sure.
And so he says, I had a full realization.
Oh yeah.
My clown chakra opened up, and I had a full realization. It's great, man. But I guess it's also quite tailored to a very particular audience too, right?
Yeah,
But
sure. For the yoga people, yeah, that know that language. It's funny that the crown chakra, whatever it is, what connects you to the Almighty, because I guess in a sense, like, it's a bit of ego to think that we're all God's thing. Because like I thought about that a lot, and I guess it is a little bit egotistical to think that, or do you think that is humble to think that, oh, we're all like that thought of we're all gods? Is that egotistical or humble to think that?
I guess it depends how you think it.
Yeah.
Like,
because like some would say that Kanye West is not humble, but he thinks that. You know, he thinks that he's God.
Wow. Well, you know, now I'm thinking about Jerry Seinfeld's thing.
Oh yeah, the Jerry Seinfeld story.
Right. So I was just kind of cruising through. I think it popped up on my Facebook or something like that. So there's a thing with him there, and some interviewers asking him, really kind of almost like a harsh detective. He's like, so what does this do for you? He's going like, what does this do for you when you study these different traditions of spirituality and philosophies? And
Jerry asks that?
no, the interviewer asks him.
Jerry.
Yeah, and he's like, kind of asks it with a lot of like, you know, there's like, it was good dramatic skepticism, you know, like, what the hell are you doing with this philosophy mumbo jumbo all your whole life or whatever?
I didn't think Jerry was big into philosophy though.
Oh, he is, man. He's been a long-time student of the Transcendental Meditation movement.
Oh
which
yeah.
Which is a big, it's quite a large movement of a meditation community throughout the world, really.
Oh, sure.
There was a guru that came to America, and then there's a whole groups that started.
Yeah, I had it mixed up. I'm thinking, well, he's into that stuff. He's into, if you're having problems, look after yourself. He's not, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like I think, yeah.
So he's super simple though with the psychology stuff. Like some people, and I'm kind of like that too. I think sometimes with depression, with mental health, I think sometimes it gets a little too overcomplicated and it starts to work against itself. Like I saw this fancy professor talking about that. This lady, I forget her name, but she was on Rogan. She was talking about how maybe for 10% of people, therapy can work because they just need somebody to talk to. But other than that, you shouldn't be, if you have negative thoughts, if your dog died, you should avoid thinking about that. You should do things to distract yourself. You shouldn't talk to somebody about how it makes you feel over and over again about your dog. That's the idea. And
I can see there's truth in everything. It's just like there's so much relativity in how you do something.
Yeah.
But anyway, what meditation, what the word means, or one of the definitions of that word is to become familiar with what is. So by meditating, it's almost like you're admitting, like, I've been born into generation after generation after generation of a kind of not the perfectly practiced wisdom. And so I just need to sit here and breathe and remember how simple everything is and how complicated everything is all at once, and make myself familiar with that experience, which could start as a concept, is actually who I am, and it's bigger than me, but it's also me. And so that's what meditation means. It's
sure.
Like,
I like that definition a lot. I thought it was
and the essence of yoga all yoga teachings mostly came from developing a physical functionality in the body so that you could meditate for long enough. And so like yoga philosophy is all built around meditation. Yeah.
Can I tell you what I like most about you? Because I'm a big physical guy, and I like sports and athletics and stuff. My least favorite thing about like sports, like let's say hockey for example, is you only get to have a really good game every now and then where you feel like you're in the zone and you're so tuned in that you're feeling it, you're able to think about everything you're doing while you're doing it, and you're maybe not even that tired because you're so much of whatever chemicals. Whereas with yoga, I felt like every time I did it, as I got better at it, every time felt like that game where I got the hat trick or whatever. Because it's not so exhausting. And there's not so many challenges in front of you. You just take it. First time you do, you take it steps 1 through 3, and then as you get better, it's steps 1 through 10,000. You know, all the different things you do in each pose, and then it's up to you to win the game every time. Nobody can stop you from winning the game, which is what I like about it, and that's why I think it's so good for connecting to your, you know, connecting to and for meditating and stuff like that. Sorry, I kind of lost my point there, but just that's what I love about yoga. I love that. And I like sweat therapy too. I like the sweating aspect of doing yoga. I don't know why there's so many fruit flies in here. Sorry, there's no food in here ever. I don't know why there's fruit flies in here.
Maybe they like your beer.
That might be it, no doubt. Hey.
So well, yoga means union. That's what it means. And so, in a sense, it's the practice of being unified with yourself, right? So,
which we all want.
Apparently.
Sure, could make life easier. So what's going on in the world? You been having any time to watch anything out there? See the Tom Brady roast, or what are you following in music these days? What's your favorite song? 3 questions at once.
Yeah, well, I've been looking at a lot of. For a while, I wasn't the best at actually studying a lot of other music other than my own because I was writing so much on my own. And like I think I was telling you when we met last time, sort of more of a storyteller than a musician.
Okay.
But I love to put it all together.
Okay.
But I don't know actually. Maybe sometimes I think of myself that way. But I played music for my whole life. I mean,
music is huge.
Around stories.
What it adds to a story is incredible.
Yeah.
It's just like a superpower. Once you tell a story and it gets to a music, that's what I like about concerts sometimes. Is all the musicians do that. Sometimes there's good ones where they'll say good stuff, and that's why I guess I wish I could see some more of your stuff. I'm sure you've done some good monologues in between songs.
Oh yeah, that's kind of.
Are they on your YouTube? Do you have any video of some of these? Like I'm sure if you were vibing on some of your best sets, I would have liked to see some of the things.
I played a show in I think it was 2021-ish. Maybe it was 2022. It might have been the winter of 2021-22. With the Telemiracle.
Wow.
And so, and then it was like, I think it was like 45 minutes or something, and I think it's on YouTube. You can actually find it on the Telemiracle page or something like that. So I did a little bit of, there was an interviewer in between each song. She was asking us questions and stuff. And
do you ever wish that you got better at social media sooner? Like, do you consider yourself not good with computers? Yeah. I feel like you should be more famous. Let's talk about that for a second. Do you think that is, but I guess you're not from here though. Sometimes I feel like where you're from can limit you a lot. Like who ends up being exposed to what you're doing.
For sure.
Like people legitimately look at Saskatchewan as just the middle of nowhere. So they don't take people from here seriously. I wish it wasn't reality, but sometimes it's kind of true. So they don't listen to you.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about that? Is that something you feel you suffer?
Even in terms of like, you say I apply to a festival, the population here is much different than if I lived in Toronto or like just in my own city. I would have like a huge, like maybe 10, 20, 50 times the outreach, that I have here, and just by being in one place.
Right? Yeah, because you're on tour, right? Like you're doing kind of a tour of different things right now.
Well, Saskatchewan, I seem to tour around the province a lot.
Yeah, because that was how we met, right? I was making you a ladder, and which I thought was a really funny way to meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the place you're staying. So you are traveling around and doing
Well,
music events?
so I'm centered. I've been mostly centered in Saskatoon for about 19 years.
Oh, for quite a while
and then I've also been caring for a camp up north, and then relating to an area.
What is that?
Yeah, like kind of caretaking a 10-acre plot of land in the forest.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What does that entail? Emptying garbages, checking on booze and stuff?
It's a long story, but basically,
such a cool job. I always thought that would be such a cool job.
it was mostly just kind of having the freedom to go somewhere to do forest retreats, like mostly.
Sure.
And that was kind of one of the ideas of originally moving to Saskatchewan, that there might be a more accessible way to find affordable land. There was more land around and stuff like that, and so that was kind of part of. I was kind of at the limit of like, okay, this city life, lots of people. I want to balance that with a little more country, and then Saskatoon's like a really cool mix of in between like a small town and a city vibe.
Pretty
for me
decent.
anyway.
Yeah, pretty decent, for sure. So unlike those forest retreats, and it's dead in the middle of the night, dark. Do you have like a favorite song that you like to play for in the middle of the forest, or if you had to pick one? Or is that stupid to say? Like for me, if somebody comes to me and they go, "Hey, what's your favorite joke?" I'd be like, "Good Lord!" Like I have a couple. I have a couple, but like mostly I like jokes that I come up with on the spot or whatever, or ones that happen in the moment. I don't really have a favorite joke, so I guess that might be a hard question to ask. But do you have a favorite dead of the night forest song that you be like, okay, you're with the retreat peeps, and you're building up to it, and you're like, this is my favorite song, and this will be the crescendo at the end. Which song would it be?
Well, I'm thinking of a few right now. The first one that came to my mind is there's one on the Act 1 of that.
Yeah, because you've got your albums here. You have 3 total albums?
When you first asked me that question, actually...
Something new.
So there's a song called
and
Pure
On Our Own Together.
Whoa, that was...
Hello, people. Are we awake now?
There's a guitar down there. But check this out. I actually brought this. See, there's one other album I think I gave to you too. This is part 1 of a 3-part album. Here's part 2 and 3. Hasn't even come. I saw
the parts thing.
I just got these in the mail. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the newest. But
there's lots of songs on each
to
one.
answer that question.
15 songs.
There's a song called Pure Experience there. When you first asked me that question, you're in the woods. It made me think of this one night in the woods. I went for a walk. There were some friends around, and there was a full moon. And I kind of just walked off with my guitar strapped on, and I kind of sang that song in the woods on my own. And for some reason, I was remembering that.
That's what came in your mind.
Yeah.
Which number is it here? I can't see it.
Which number would it be?
Pure Experience.
In the teens.
Oh, you don't have it memorized? Oh, it's in the teens.
Letting Go of Steel was another title for it too.
Oh, there it is. Number 14. Letting Go of Steel. Pure Experience.
Yeah.
No, I like your music.
So this is here. I'm gonna give that to you as a gift here.
Wonderful, thank you.
I haven't. You're only the third person I've given one of those to. I haven't even told people they're here yet and stuff. So that's completely fresh off the press.
Cool. Where's the damn nice note and signature? We got nothing on it.
We'll work on that. Yeah, we'll work on it.
Stop the podcast.
What is this?
He's kicked off.
What kind of impersonal gift is this?
Oh.
I can't take this shit, man.
That's funny. Okay, so you're a storyteller. Who is your favorite storyteller? Like maybe be a comedian or somebody else. Like somebody that isn't like an Indian guru. Like somebody who is more in pop culture and somebody who's more mainstream. Who's your favorite kind of storyteller? Because there's lots out there.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Joseph Campbell. I'm thinking of Carl Jung, who was an old, like now passed psychologist.
Psychologist, yeah.
There's who else? I think Charles Eisenstein is an interesting young philosopher. I mean, he does some storytelling.
I know him.
Yeah, pretty neat guy.
He's
author.
young.
He's kind of maybe my age. Like,
yeah.
Mid-40s or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Michael Mead is an interesting guy I came across through Robert Bly, who's another storyteller and an author.
I recognize that Robert Bly name.
Yeah.
So, so what is it about somebody that makes you like them for storytelling? What do you think it is that makes you a good storyteller?
When you're the other person I didn't mention, my elder friend Bruce, who just passed away in January.
Okay.
He was definitely one of my favorite storytellers. Anyone who knew him knew he could tell you a lot of stories over, like, and not, like, sometimes the same ones you'd hear, but he had a lot, right? But I think it's because he remembered an essence of a teaching that experience gave him, which was then arising again in a different form.
Essence counter's up to 5.
There you go, essence counter. But if you think about, say you learn something about how to walk while you're walking, and then that comes up again in a different form. But then you say someone's talking about how they're going to get on a path of doing something, but you think about this story about how you were learning how to walk a different way and how it's connected. That there's a metaphoric connection. And in my opinion, when we get to this idea of having a muse of an art form or a science that gives you an honest experience, that a story, if you think about how would you tell a child something true when they're so much younger than you, right? You would tell them in a story, like something simple. Like if, say there's all this stuff going on and then the child asks you some like simple question, and then you just describe like how a butterfly gets born from a caterpillar to a butterfly or something like that. Yeah. And it's like you can feel the child like receiving so much from that, but it's a simple story, right? And you're actually telling them a lot.
So it's honesty again,
but it's also, in my opinion, I'm a bit of a seeker too, and which means I'm always curious about how much more is true than what I think I know, and there's always more, it seems. So
I know it's hard to not let that affect your confidence with what you know.
It can inspire your confidence that maybe that's never going to change, and you learn how to live with it.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. I like that.
And then and it becomes fun because it's like, what am I going to learn now?
Exactly.
Kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But the other aspect is a story. How would you know how many levels and layers and meanings of truth were in a story that you were hearing from an elder, for example, or someone who was along the path a little further than you? Like, how would you know? You sometimes you would think about it a lot, or you even say, oh, this is this thing that happened to me. Is that similar? Or, but some stories, and I find that sometimes, like, a story can have so much in it, even that you don't even know while you're telling it. But
exactly.
even
that's
upon reflection,
well said. I like that again. There we go. That's another great point. Yeah. That's what's interesting. And we've talked long enough now where the people who don't like you have clicked off. I'm curious. So, and if you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to. I'm curious.
Bye. Have a good one.
I'm curious because that's actually what's brought me back around. Because when I was younger, I used to be kind of anti-religious, and it's not that I'm a religious person now, but like I now understand more about what they're doing with the Bible and what's going on there. Because like what you said about how you tell it in story, if you want people to learn lessons, they've got to be stories. So in a sense, I get the Bible now, and it's like, what do you think about religion? Do you think it's something that we should change and adapt into being more of a scientific, moral-based system where we change the book? Or do you think that the religion as it is, that those older texts, there is something to that, to the story? Because I guess me and you should both be on the side of the stories based on how we live our lives. But there's a lot of people, I mean, they're more on the left, but they believe that morals are just something that can be scientific, and there doesn't have to be any weight behind the words or anything like that. What do you think about that? Are you very religious, or do you mind? Do you want to even talk about religion?
Oh, I can talk about anything, man.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I have two things to say in response to your question, Stephen. Okay. One, if we look at the history of clever crooks, consciously or unconsciously doing so, right? Then you look at like the other day, I was driving along and I got a call from a 1-800 number, and I thought it might have been this strange delivery, an oversized delivery call. I thought that's why. So then I answered it,
Okay.
and it's this machine that says, "We've noticed that you've had some theft on your cards, and we'd like to make sure that doesn't happen and return the money that we see was fraudulent. Just press this number and we'll fix you up," right? And it's like, that's a scam.
Yeah.
But it's a perfect example of how you got someone who's pretending to protect you that's actually screwing you worse.
Yeah.
But so then how does a clever crook work? They use something that's true in order to lie. So then if you look at the history of how we've been screwed, man, like how we have generational trauma and how much religion has been unfortunately
involved in that.
of us an apparent part of that, right? And
do you think though, sorry to interrupt real quick, do you think that the most valuable thing is what always ends up falling on the sword? Like if you think about great people, like leaders, presidents, these types of people, they almost always get associated with something. They always end up falling on the sword at their end of their career. If you think, let's say Richard Nixon, for example. Do you think that that's an aspect of what, when you have something so old like religion, as to what's happening there? Because the good is hard to be quantified because it happens in every individual's life, potentially. I'm trying to be the advocate for religion here, as against you, the devil. Like you, the devil's advocate.
Sure.
Or whatever. I'm sorry, I'm using the phrase. I'm not calling you the devil.
Do you know what religion means? Religiare, to retie something that's been unwoven.
And you're
or
saying that
broken,
that they take advantage of vulnerability too
much.
much.
No. I love religion.
Because people who seek religion definitely are vulnerable.
I love religion. I'm just saying. I guess maybe I'm commenting on how you were mentioning how you had an aversion to religion for a while, and I think there's a really good reason for that because I can relate to that. But now so I'll get to the second thing I was going to say is that quote I was going to get to that Jerry Seinfeld said. Okay. So the guy asks him, "You've been studying all these religions and philosophies. Like, what does this do for you?" He said. So he goes, "Yeah," he said, "I do. I look at lots of different things, and right now I'm reading the literature of Marcus Aurelius, a Roman leader and writer.
He's the man guy. He's all about the man.
I guess I don't actually know too much about it.
He's a stoicist.
Right. Yes. There you go. Yeah. So Jerry Seinfeld says, I'm reading a lot of Marcus Aurelius right now, and he's really inspiring me. And one of the things he says is, in one's life, one of the best things that one can do is just focus on what you want to get good at. Everything else is not as important because you're producing your own joy. I'm starting to interpret it myself a bit, but he did say something like this: you're producing your own joy, you're producing your own functionality, you're producing your own development that is self-gratifying. Yeah. But you're also producing something that's valuable for others, right?
For sure.
And the other point he was, I think, really making was, and you don't really care whatever someone thinks, oh, what's he doing over there in that sand pit, or, what's he doing screaming at the river, or, whatever, and you don't, it doesn't bother you. It's like, you know what you're doing.
In the sand pit screaming at the river. Dude, I totally agree with you. I mean, or what do you do? What's that guy doing smashing pallets?
Right.
When you said that stuff, that's what I thought of first of all. Did you know, dude, in the past 3 days, I have gotten more than 1 million views on my pallet deconstruct videos. They're going full on viral. Everything's growing like crazy from my pallet deconstruct videos.
Right.
Yeah, I'm the only guy who does it. So what you're saying, or what that is, I believe that to be very true.
Right. Sure. Sure.
Do you know the name of the young guy? Because the only reason I know about the Marcus Aurelius thing is there's that the Daily Stoic on social media. Do you follow that guy? Do you know that guy?
No.
No? He's pretty popular. He went on Rogan.
Okay.
He talks about all this kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. Lost my train of thought. But.
Yeah, well, religion.
Religion.
Is. I mean, we can. It's, to me, it's beautiful. And
what's your favorite painting in this room? Or do you like that one?
Well, I keep looking at that one, so I like that one.
This one,
the best.
I like a lot too. I like the way the grass turned out. And the leaf color and the sky color is quite good.
You know, I want to tell you this story. I was thinking of it when we were talking about religion.
Oh, and then this one too. Sorry, yeah, keep going.
That's
Keep going.
okay.
Man.
That's
this one. Yeah, I just want you to see this one close up because this one.
Who made this?
The artist. Her name is well, I'll give you her account name on social media. It's Round to It Art. It's ROUND and then TUIT. Round, like got around to it.
Oh.
Yeah. But like that's a little anglerfish.
There's roundness in there too.
Sure. That's a little anglerfish there, and it's kind of funny how she makes all of her paintings like kind of cute like that.
Yeah,
If you've ever seen an anglerfish?
What's this? What's that coming out of its head?
That's have you ever seen it?
No.
Have you ever seen an anglerfish?
No.
They have a bioluminescent ball that comes off of their head, and
Wow.
they're one of the fish one of the largest fish that live at the lowest depth in the ocean that we've ever discovered.
They
But
got
they're
a
only
headlamp.
about, the females are only about this big and the males are like about this big.
That's amazing.
And that's a painting of that, and that painting's called Finding Friends.
Wow.
Really good though. I like the lines.
Finding Friends.
I like the darkness of the bottom part, and it's really good.
I love it.
Yeah, I made that frame for her. I make the frames for her, so that's why I have some in here.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
so that story I was thinking. I heard this story from a guy named he's the author of the Tibetan book of Living and Dying. His name's Sogyal Rinpoche. He was a bit of a controversial character, but some of the teachings that he brought through were awesome, regardless of whatever they said he was good or not good at or whatever. But anyway, he told this story in a talk series that I have audio recordings of, and he's telling this story of an old monk, and I think it was hundreds of years ago. But basically, there were sort of like fundamentalist authoritarian powers that were coming to take this supposedly not righteous monk away for some crime of not playing with whatever rules or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously there was the other side of that where he was actually just getting too influential and too free for the state to get along with anymore or whatever, right?
Okay.
Which is very similar to the Christ story.
Sure.
Maybe,
Yeah.
But anyway, these authorities go to get him, but they had to ride up this hill. It seemed like he stayed at this monastery high up on a hill. So they're riding with their whole entourage up the hill. They go and they get him, and then they're taking him down, and he's in this cart from the back of their cart, and they're riding down the mountain, and all of his disciples are around, and they're all like, oh, we're gonna, we may never see him again. But all the way down the hill, long ride down, he just sang and sang and sang. And he sang these beautiful songs, these beautiful poems, some he was making up, and everyone's, wow, great songs. And then the story goes that as soon as they got to where they were going, he stopped singing soon before they got there. And then when they got to where they were going, they're going to take him out and put him on trial or whatever. He was dead.
He was dead?
He was dead. Yeah. He was older anyway, right? But I think it's such an awesome story because
I'm not sure if I get it.
It's like, it's almost like, so you use the phrase falling on your sword, and it's like if the last thing you could,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, bingo, yeah.
like if the last thing you could do in a
Yeah.
world that's so confused and
Yeah.
disturbed
Yeah.
that they're gonna come and harass you, and you don't want to fight and live in hiding or something, you just go,
But it
what,
takes
I'm
away.
old, I'm gonna sing a few songs for my
Yeah.
friends,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna put up with this shit.
I'm sorry, what was that story again? That was a Tibetan something or other?
Well,
yeah.
I
That's how I feel about Watergate. Have you ever seen Nixon's exit speech? Every
can
president
probably
gives an
remember
entrance and
some,
exit
yeah.
speech. Oh man, you should go back and rewatch Nixon's exit speech.
Mm.
He talks about his mother for 15 minutes,
Mm.
and the speech is only 40 minutes long.
Mm.
It's amazing.
Mm.
Like I don't know how. There's people out there who so don't understand what being a president is, or what being a leader is.
Mm-hmm.
Pisses me off a little bit sometimes. Like people who constantly they're like, fuck Trudeau.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that kind of stuff.
Mm.
It's such an ignorance towards completely towards the political system.
Yeah.
You know, and the
Well, I mean, that being said, sometimes people that are leaders can act like assholes, right?
but
You
even
know,
if
like-
they do, like, it's about they can do whatever as long as they are not getting their only job is to not get assassinated every day. So like imagine
Isn't it
having,
to serve the people though, properly and skillfully?
yes, but the number one thing they have to do is preside, and you need to be alive for that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
But what if you're doing a shitty job? Maybe it's good to
They
go.
don't have that's the thing for sure. That's the thing though is they don't have a job really.
Yeah.
The job of the president is to just to do speeches, stay alive, present an image of a strong country, talk about their country being strong. That's it. If you really think about what a president or a prime minister does, it's nothing, right? I mean, they present
So
their
what's-
side. They present their side of a very partisan view as much as possible until the public won't take it anymore. Like, because that's the whole idea of the sides in politics. Like, I'm not a big politics guy, but I feel like I understand it pretty good now. But
So
it's
what's
just water
the-
sloshing in a bathtub, right?
Like, kind of you're making the point of, like, people, what do you think or see people could do or should do in terms of thinking or behaving?
People don't
with
realize that they're the water in the bathtub. There's some of us are bubbles on the top,
Oh,
and we watch
okay,
it all.
Okay,
but
I see.
people don't realize that they're taking part in the sloshing of the bathtub, because that's the whole
Okay.
idea. Because what we need in society. Sorry if I'm going off too much
No,
of a
that's
tangent
cool. I
here
can
on
see what you're
politics.
saying now. I was trying to hear you.
Yeah. So like, you know, because what we want as a society, we want everything pretty much to stay the same, unless something crazy is happening. But while that's happening, we want an oscillation back and forth of different views to see if any of those click into what we need at that time. You know, and the leaders are just the guiding force of that partisan view, and then until enough people in the country disagree, and then it slaps back over to the other side, and so on and so forth. You know, I know we have a multi-party system here in Canada, but in U.S. it's even clearer. But you know, think about what Biden and Trump do. They do nothing. They make sure they have enough money so that they can take shit from everybody and not get killed. You know?
I don't know. I mean, to me, it sort of gets down to more of.
Are you a politician hater? Is that what I'm touching on here?
No. I think everything has a shadow and a light version of itself.
Okay.
You know, so it's, but to me, the essence, number 6.
Number 6.
Of what the essence of what we're talking about is leadership.
Yeah.
And so like, there's so many funny, distorted versions of everything, and you know, when it gets further and further away onto these really showy, done-up stages, it's like leadership makes more sense. Like when I see my neighbor pick up some garbage when he's walking on the sidewalk or something,
for
you know,
his
like
other neighbor, yeah.
like
But
just
then you
simple
see people up
actions
on the
that
top.
are-
You see like a Nancy Pelosi, or you see like who's our finance minister there? Let me be clear, Christy Freeland. You see these people, and it's like, holy shit. All they have is they've got these verbal tricks that they play. They're media specialists. They go in front of the camera, they play verbal tricks. They don't actually do anything.
Well,
Or is that just one
That's the
element?
thing. It's hard for me to talk about these things because there's so many levels and layers to what is going on there.
Don't you think, though, as I
It's,
mentioned, don't you think, though, that there's fundamental ones? And the fundamental one is to keep the society calm. But, you know, it's funny, though, as I get older, I start to think about war and, like, the benefits of it. It's kind of strange that, like...
Well, I like the idea of keeping people calm. I
So
don't
do
like
I.
the idea of unnecessarily sedating everyone.
Neither do I. Because
So
at the end of the day,
so,
like...
you know, those are interesting differences, right? And they can look very similar. So this is when we get into the potential for crooks to just, you know, make lots of money or whatever it is. But and it's like, and everything has the possibility of being corrupted, and that's fine. That's just part of the world, man. You know. So yeah, then it's just kind of, and I think it's similar to what we were talking about before, where you just do what you're doing, and don't worry. Like, you know, like believe in, like if you can believe in an action that it's useful and beneficial in and of itself, regardless of the outcomes, that's a good sign. Because then, but the outcomes are considered also as, and all the potential avenues of benefit, are considered as much as possible, cool too, right? Like, but that makes me calm when I feel. That makes me happy. That makes like, and I'll also feel like I'm giving space for other people to be happy and functional, and I can appreciate their versions of that. And so that's just, and I'm not gonna change. That's not gonna change in me. That's only gonna get better. Like,
question for you: do you think your music, so like when you were trying to present yourself to your audience, the people that are gonna go out there and listen to you, do you think it's better to put yourself out there in the sense of like, hey, I'm against abortion, I'm this, I'm that, or do you think your music exposes it if you were to really listen to it, or do you think it's like in say an interview like this versus the songs you make? What would you prefer, to talk about some of those things, or do you believe that as an artist it's best to leave them anonymous? What do you think's better?
well, this is why I like to call one of my favorite band names. I was telling you before was the Divine Comedians. So I would say I'm just a divine comedian, man. I'm just here smiling with the reality, and I'm a clown. Like it's
I feel like that
because
sometimes too.
opinions are kind of hilarious,
Yeah.
right?
But do you feel, and this is not a competition,
Yeah.
opinions are hilarious.
Mm.
Do you ever feel like, because like this is where I sometimes I resent musicians, okay, because I feel like you guys somehow have, it's like you guys are the OnlyFans bikini girls, and us comedians are kind of like the full hardcore porn girls with like how we put ourselves out there. You know what I mean? Whereas you guys with your songs can be so.
What do you mean? You would rather see girls in bikinis than
I'm saying the girls in the bikinis.
You resent musicians for that?
I mean, yeah. No, I'm just saying. I'm saying that like the girls in bikinis, maybe it's a bit of a less exposure, less vulnerability. Sometimes I feel that way, but I'm not. But that's not a slight against musicians. But when you can say, essentially, you got a song that says 200 words or 50 words 4 times in 4 different verses. That's so much different than what a podcast is in an hour. When I say 100,000 words that are all different.
Here's what's coming to me. To me, what would be words? Like say for most, like you could say a general beautiful experience and maybe best possible outcome for most anyone writing a song would be that everyone ends up getting something out of it if it's exposed to everyone, and it turns out like almost it seems that everyone can somehow be inspired by that song, right?
A lot of people don't listen to musicians, but they don't identify with words. Like this person's not like me. This person isn't an Italian. I know, you gotta find a way.
What I'm saying is, without being attached to it ever having to happen, but as a good muse for your own practice that's good in and of itself, that's an interesting reflection for an art, and it's inspiring for me to think of my songs that way. That if I write this song, how could someone who has this most left opinion and this most right opinion both like it?
Both like it. Yeah.
And I hand this to you now, and I say, would not the same be true for a comedian, that you could say something that's funny that everyone could smile with?
I love to think that, but it is tough. Sometimes you got to pick your sniper shots, and sometimes right, because like if you think of like my most recent favorite song is Oliver Anthony, Richmond North of Richmond. Have you heard of that one?
I think I know which one. Yeah, the red-haired guy.
Yeah. Like I
He's
really
talking
like,
about corruption and
right?
stuff, right?
And so, but that's a right. If you would put a political label on it, you'd call it a right-leaning song. So that's the problem. There is he's chosen his path.
I mean, I think usually there's a bit of both. Like usually when something strikes, there's kind of a revelation on both sides of the apparent conflict.
Sure.
Because in a certain sense, talking about corrupt business people was always like a left thing.
Yeah, it's both.
So it's kind of tricky, right? Like there's a little bit of everything.
But right now, I guess right now it's plucking a tune with right people, I guess, because they're the ones who are, not in power. In both Canada and the U.S., which is wild. What do you think? Let me ask you this. This is more of a macro opinion. If you want to just cop, I'm not going to look down on you if you cop out on something like this. If you're like, that's above my head. Fuck it. Like, what do you think of the idea that, like, let's say the West, us, we are diversity experiments. The West is North America, United States, Canada. we are a diversity experiment, and we're becoming quite feminine as a culture in the West. Women are dominating. They are dominating. It's not just that we are giving them equality. They are like, we look at Russia as an enemy and China as an enemy because they're masculine societies. You think that that's something that's good for the world to have, on a macro scale, have places over here where you can live where they champion women and places over here where they champion men? Is that the nature of the world and something that's going to just, you know what I mean? Like there is no, do you believe there's a resolution to politics where all of a sudden it's all just, have you read the book The Giver? No? Everybody in school reads it nowadays in like high school. It's essentially a book about like, there's other movies that have the same theme, but like everything's gray. So everybody's the same, and people eventually, everybody becomes colorblind, like nobody can see color. Do you think that it's not good that we're all the same, or do you think the difference is good? I feel like it is. So I'll offer I feel like it's good that we have these options where people can go, like you get, let's say some 39-year-old man gets divorced in Canada and his wife cheats on him and he loses all his money. Guess what? He can go move to Taiwan and get a couple of, girls real quick and live his life there on a beach with his new wife, because of the different values of the region or whatever. Don't you think that that's good? We should all try to be the same.
Nature thrives through diversity. That's one way to see it. Like, I think there's truth in what you're saying. I think most times when a polarized presentation occurs to me, I look for how they go together. And usually it's, like, I think paradox is how we experience truth.
Can you explain to me what paradox means to you?
It's similar to that non-duality idea, where there's, so say I'm a man, but I can have a feminine experience.
That's a paradox.
It could be,
Yeah.
Jumbo shrimp,
Yeah.
Is that a,
That's
but those are, maybe those are,
oxymoron.
well, here's one, uniquely the same.
Sure.
So I've used that line in a lot of my songs, but
Yeah.
it takes what you're saying, diversity, where that actually it seems that everyone is unique, but there's something similar about us too, right? So we all have a different fingerprint, but we all have a fingerprint, right? That's a paradox. Like, and then you extend that to all these particulars, and to me it helps me because I don't get caught up as much in being conflicted. Because when I look at the sort of,
letting go is an exercise, like something you can get good at.
well, it's not even letting go, but well, it is. It could be, but it's also it's not letting go by not dealing with it. It's seeing it for what it is, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And when I think of the history of what I know about the human family story and all this, like if you want to think about it like that, which I think it makes sense to me. Like in a certain sense, the world not getting along with itself is kind of like a dysfunctional family. And maybe there has been times where war wasn't a normality, and we just don't have it in our books because all the people that got into fighting are the ones writing the books now, or something.
The winners of the fights.
If I look at how does that work? How does the war reality, the screwing up reality work? It's where we.
Do you think that everything is okay? I want to ask you, Brian Paul, if you could reassure all my listeners,
like the Bob
please.
Marley song.
Yeah, is everything okay?
Yeah, man.
Do you think everything is the way it is?
Oh yeah.
And I feel that way sometimes too. I really don't. I think everything is fine. Like fuck Hillary Clinton. She's fine. Do what she does. Fuck let's just all. Like, she's not going to stop me from taking apart pallets and having fires, and that's my favorite thing. So I feel like everybody needs to find that nucleus of happiness.
Yeah, accepting the world as it is,
Yes.
doing your best to make yourself better, maybe the world better too, and then, but no attachment to outcome.
Yeah.
But you do it anyway.
You do it anyway.
It's like, that's kind of one of the big things that, I feel like I've settled into more and more.
You feel like you have?
It gets
Do you
better.
think that you suffered some challenges that made you need to realize that?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
Like I think we're all conditioned. We're born with conditioning, like we were talking about earlier about imitation. Like the way you imitate your culture that you grow up in, you imitate your parents to the degree that they have, you know, a lack of 100% perfect presence with you, and then there's a lot of things you're picking up, and like I've experienced with my own children, any errors that me and or their mother have made and that we haven't resolved perfectly,
They jump on that.
they'll pick it up.
Which
And
is
you
cool,
think about
hey?
your parents too, like in ways that you've grown past the limitations of the concepts of your parents, right?
For sure.
And so
That's great. Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting, but it can be frustrating too. It's very interesting, right? Because it goes through a cycle where there was a period of time when you were little and you were desperate for your parents, and then it flips at a certain time where they are old and they need your help. You know, it's very strange, and you get it's almost even before you have like if your parents die before you have kids, you can start to see some of the errors of your ways in them as they become more vulnerable towards their death. You know what I mean? I feel I'm seeing that as my parents age a little bit. They're not as strong as they were when they were young. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Oh, good stuff.
It's phenomenal. Yeah. It's humbling.
So, is there any chance you want to play a song? We're coming up to the end of another episode here.
Okay.
And I mean, if you're up for it, I would like to request a song for everybody. But if you're not, that's fine too.
Well, you know, I'll try one. I was thinking of a good one now that I could try. It's called "Smart and Kind."
Okay.
I kind of wrote it. I wrote it, I think, in and around somewhere in 2020. I can't remember the exact month now.
Okay. Smart and Kind, Brian Paul, Giuseppe here.
You got your C harmonica? I bet you can even fit in with a C harmonica.
I have a.
Oh, that's the D.
This is the D. I have my C in my little case there.
Yeah, why not? Why not grab
If I want to just kind of slap something in, I might as well.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Dang it, man, I can't remember. I might have set it down under. That's okay. I'll stay out of your way. I'm not a professional, not at all.
That's okay.
I'll stay off the ice.
I'm just having fun.
Okay, you go ahead.
Okay, so I'll just kind of do a chill version here. Whatever happened to 2020 vision? They say that it's observable online. Relatively observable online. You better ask somebody smart and kind. Better ask somebody smart and kind. Whatever happened to all the live musicians? They say that they're audible online. Relatively audible online. Better ask somebody smart and kind. Better ask somebody smart and kind. Smart and kind. Smart and kind. Ask somebody smart and kind. Better ask somebody smart and kind. Whatever happened to the justice system? They say it's relatively readable online, but you can burn your eyes out online. So you better ask somebody smart and kind. Better ask somebody smart and kind. Whatever happened to natural wisdom? They say that the history's online, but it's a relative mystery online. So you better ask somebody smart and kind. Better ask somebody smart and kind. Better ask somebody smart and kind. Better ask somebody smart and kind.
Wow, good job. Amazing, man. That was just incredible. What lyrics. Wow, everybody. Okay.
Well, thanks so much for having me here, man.
Thanks
been
for
great.
coming, man.
Yeah.
It's so good to know you. I'm so
Likewise.
happy. So, all right, everybody. That's
Maybe we'll
Canadian
do it
Talk.
again sometime.
Definitely.
Only if the audience is happy,
For
of
sure,
course.
for sure. All right, that's Canadian
we
Talk.
didn't tick anyone off too bad.
Oh, that's what we're going
It
for,
is
guys.
tick
We need
season,
you too.
right?
We're gonna tick you off. We need to tick you off and tick you
Watch
up.
out for ticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, see you later. Oh, geez, awesome. Please go subscribe to our YouTube page, Canadian Talk with Stephan podcast. We need you down there. Also, we have a website, Stephanjackson.ca, where you'll find the audio versions. As well, you can email us if you got a question or anything you want to see us talk about. CanadianTalkwithStephan@gmail.com.